All right, man, peace. You know, brothers, it's becoming abundantly obvious that LeBron James knows that this season is going to be a relatively free pass for him. I believe that the only expectation that he has for himself is that the Lakers make the playoffs and that he be given the NBA regular season MVP. We'll see what happens. But he sat down with Dave McMenamin, one of the reporters that used to cover him while he was with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he stated point blank when asked a question about what success will be considered for the LA Lakers this year. And LeBron James said, the bar for success is the unknown. So anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Turn our attention to the Lakers. Dave McMenamin sat down with LeBron yesterday, asked him about his expectations for the Lakers and himself in his first season.
You're one of the most well-known athletes on the planet. The Lakers are one of the most notorious brands in all of sports. How do those two things come together and amplify one another? It's a perfect match.
Well, they come together to amplify one another because LeBron James is the best actor of any professional athlete, or at least any major professional athlete in the sports world. And as we all know, LA is the hub for all the great actors and thespians, all the great worshipers and venerators of the Bacchus, which is what he is. That's why he's heading out there. And he knew that he was heading out there from 2 or 3 years ago.
Perfect match, and this city is built on stars. This city breeds stars and they breed winners, and I'm a winner, more importantly. I'm a winner, but
Well, you're a winner at life, bro. But when it comes to the big stage, you know you're not a winner. You've lost twice as much as you've won. That's a fact.
But obviously, you know, with Jeannie and Irvin and Rob, they know what it means and they know what it feels to win. So they're a little bit closer to the finish line than it would be, say, you know, when I first got back to Cleveland.
So what is the bar for success for the 2018-2019 season?
Now, wait a minute. How could the Lakers be a little bit closer to the finish line than when you first got back to Cleveland, when you already had Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love? That's a slap in the face to Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love. With the LA Lakers, you have a lot of young talent, but all that talent is relatively unproven. Of course, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love were also unproven, but at least they had some stripes in the NBA. Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love had both been all-stars. What have any of the young players on the LA Lakers done for you to assert that you're closer to the finish line in your first season with LA than you were in your first season with Cleveland? And if that's the case, you got to the finals in your first season with Cleveland. So if you're closer to the finish line in LA, that means that the bar for success in LA should be that you get to the finals, or at the very least, lose to the Warriors in the playoffs.
18 season.
I mean, it's unknown. It's unknown. But if we prepare ourselves mentally and physically every day, I mean, you know me, you know how I prepare every day.
Bullshit, it cannot be the unknown. You just stated that the LA Lakers are closer to the finish line, to the proverbial finish line, than Cleveland was in your first season getting back there. Let me rewind this back.
Every day. We'll be saying, you know, when I first got back to Cleveland.
So what is the bar?
So they're a little bit closer to the finish line than it would be, say, you know, when I first got back to Cleveland.
Now, I hope that you brothers heard that. LeBron James stated that the LA Lakers are a little bit closer to the finish line than the Cleveland Cavaliers were when he first went back. And we'll rewind it one more time.
To win. So they're a little bit closer to the finish line than it would be, say, you know, when I first got back to Cleveland.
So what?
I'm glad that you said that, brother. Because no excuses at the end of this season if you lose to any other team other than the Golden State Warriors in the playoffs. No excuses.
So what is the bar for success for the 2018-2019 season?
The bar for success is you losing to the Golden State Warriors in the playoffs this year.
I mean, it's unknown.
No, it's not the unknown. You've already established it.
It's unknown. But if we prepare ourselves mentally and physically every day, I mean, you know me, you know how I prepare every day. I won't accept anything less of trying to be great and wanting to be great every single day. So
that's great. But you already established the bar for success. You basically shitted on the contributions of Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love in your first season going back to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And you've also put the onus on many of your new teammates, Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball and Kyle Kuzma, so on and so forth, to make sure that they show up in the same way that Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love did. As a matter of fact, they should surpass them according to your own assertions, because you just stated that the LA Lakers are closer to the finish line than the Cleveland Cavaliers were when you first went back.
So, but what's the level of success for this year is the unknown.
Brian, this great job by Dave, and Brian is so interesting to me because we all, look, let's be honest, we all would have handed him some smelling salts if he came out and promised the Lakers would win a championship this year.
Right.
But let's also be honest, this is the first time in what, a decade maybe, that LeBron hasn't started the season with at least a real legitimate shot to win a title, right?
How could he not have a real legitimate shot to win a title when all of you NBA pundits exclaim that he's the best player in the NBA without a doubt? Some of you state that he's far and away the best player in the NBA. So you can't say that he has no shot whatsoever.
I'd go 13 years, actually,
Okay.
because remember, he made the finals in 2007, and then they were #1 seed a couple times before he makes 8 straight playoffs, 8 straight finals. Well, his answer there was very interesting, Rachel. First off, he sort of implied that this wasn't like when he came back to Cleveland in 2014. I completely disagree.
Thank you, Brian Windhorst. You know, Brian Windhorst is one of the few members of the mainstream liberal sports media who calls LeBron out for his silly shit.
Cavs team was loaded, and very well might have won the title that year had injuries not gotten in the way.
Thank you, sir.
Secondly, we heard him say, "I'm a winner." And Rachel, you know LeBron very well, and I feel like if we get to November 18th and the Lakers are 4 games below 500, or if we get to January 1st and they're in 12th place or 10th place, which is possible, I don't think that's insulting them. That's what we're going to hear LeBron say. Well, I'm a winner. We may not be on.
In other words, Brian Windhorst, you know that LeBron James is going to revert back to who he really is, which is a me-first guy who's going to start to stat pad. And let me say this. If LeBron does revert to the worst version of himself, that is when you're going to see the contention between himself and Rajon Rondo come to its fullness, come to its fruition.
Not be on this team as a winner. And the thing about it that's so difficult for the Lakers, their roster is flawed. I think everybody would agree with that. And okay, it's not a character assassination on the front office. They need a year to get together. They've got a flawed roster. That's one problem. The second problem is that the West is just brutal. And let's say the Clippers get their hands on Jimmy Butler. That would, where Jimmy Butler goes could potentially change that. So I just think this is going to be something LeBron has never had in his adult NBA years. And we know that when he was 19 and 20, he didn't make the playoffs. But since he's been an NBA adult, which I start basically when he made the playoffs for the first time in his 3rd season, he's never experienced this. I don't know how he's going to handle it.
Because look, Stephen, you've gone from a championship-winning, title-winning, ring-winning season, and then been on teams where you knew that was not there. How frustrating it is for a good player to be in the middle of that when you know what you've been capable of in the past.
If I'm LeBron James, I'm comfortable going anywhere because I know I'm going to make everybody better. Coming to the Western Conference.
Well, LeBron James is going to make every teammate better who's willing to conform himself to the LeBron James system. And those are the only teammates that he's going to make better. Every player who's accustomed to playing in a real system and who knows what a real system looks like is automatically going to reject the LeBron James system, and therefore they're going to be rejected by LeBron James. We saw that last season with a couple of the players who came over from the Boston Celtics. They did not fare well in the LeBron James system because they were asked to basically just stand around the three-point line and wait for LeBron James to be generous enough to pass them the ball.
And coming to the Lakers, as smart as LeBron is, we know he knew what he was getting himself into. We know that he knew that this was going to be almost impossible to get this team to the playoffs and back to the championship mode. But I think he understands that, and the playoffs is the ceiling for them. For me, just getting in. I don't think they can make any noise. But I never count LeBron out because he's been such a great player since he's been in the league and carrying teams, and he's done the impossible so many times. When we counted him out, he's done the impossible. So anything can happen with LeBron, but the Western Conference, he's dealing with a different monster now.
But LeBron. And the way LeBron feels in July and September is different than in the regular season sometimes.
Absolutely. Just like the way that a woman feels for 3 weeks out of the month is one way, and then that menstrual cycle comes through. That's how LeBron is.
Sometimes.
That's true. I mean, we've talked about this a bunch, and we've talked about it on camera. Like, I am looking to see what happens in that dead of winter when it is a slug and the flights are different than he's used to and the back-to-backs are different because every team is so strong in the West and all that. But I do say, Stephen, look, I would not have said on the last day of the regular season that I expected LeBron and the Cavaliers to take the path to the finals that they took, right?
Right.
The way all of that unfolded, what LeBron did over those 2 or 3 months was completely unpredictable.
After breaking his hand.
No, it was actually very predictable. LeBron James is an exemplary player. He's superlative in regards to his player archetype. He's the best player that we've ever seen in the NBA for his player archetype, that being the ball dominant, ball distributor who can score. We've seen that in the NBA before. The Oscar Robertsons, the LeBron Jameses, Grant Hill, Russell Westbrook, James Harden. LeBron James is the best player of all time of that archetype. So there's nothing that would surprise me in regards to his exploits until he faces a truly good team, a truly very good or great team. They're going to be able to nullify that type of player. That type of player has always been able to be nullified by a great team.
His hand.
So, well, for the end, absolutely.
He said it's healthy, though. No, it's all healed.
So,
Oh, you mean his hand injury is all healed from last year when he was wrapping his wife's scarf around it at the end of Game 4 of the NBA Finals?
so yeah. So I mean, I would agree that you don't know what you're going to get. Let's all be entertained.
Can't count him out.
We did want to run back the.
Well, we cannot count him out in regards to making the playoffs. The Lakers will make the playoffs, but I think that they're going to be embarrassed either in round 2 or round 3. They'll probably get out the first round depending on what their seed is, but you never know if they're the 7th or the 8th seed and they have to face the Rockets or the Warriors in the first round. Could be a first round exit for Mr. LeBron James.
The iconic Vince Carter.
But anyway, that's basically it on that. Peace.